It started with a sound I still hear sometimes when the night gets too quiet, the hollow thud of a body leaning too hard against a car door, followed by a laugh that was trying and failing to hide how broken it felt. I almost walked away. Everyone else already had. The bar lights glowed behind us, music thumping like a heartbeat that didn't care, and there he was, my coworker, tie loose, eyes glassy, holding onto the world by a thread. I didn't know then that this small decision, this one pause, would lead me into a moment that would change how I understood gratitude, love, and the quiet ways people save each other. I worked with him for 3 years and never knew much beyond his job title and his dry humor in meetings. That night, he wasn't the capable man who always had answers. He was drunk, yes, but more than that, he was empty. When I asked if he was okay, he tried to joke, then stopped halfway through the sentence and stared at the ground like it might swallow him. I offered to call a cab. He shook his head, mumbling something about money, about not wanting to explain things again. So I sighed, unlocked my car, and told him to get in. It felt like the easiest choice in the world. It rarely is. The drive was quiet at first, the city sliding past us in blurred lights. Then he started talking, not loudly, not dramatically. Just words slipping out like water through cracks. About deadlines. About always feeling behind. About how he used to be better, sharper, someone his younger self would have been proud of. I didn't interrupt. I didn't fix anything. I just listened, hands steady on the wheel, heart slowly sinking as I realized how invisible pain can be when it wears a suit and shows up on time. When we reached his house, he hesitated, staring at the dark windows like they were judging him. He whispered that his wife hated seeing him like this. That she deserved better. I helped him to the door, rang the bell, and stepped back. The door opened, and she stood there, tired eyes, cardigan pulled tight, worry-ridden so deeply it looked permanent. For a second, I expected anger. Instead, I saw relief. She thanked me quietly, helped him inside, and the door closed. I sat in my car for a moment longer than necessary, wondering why my chest felt so heavy for someone I barely knew. Days passed. Work returned to normal. He avoided my eyes at first, then nodded once in the hallway like a silent acknowledgement of shared memory. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. A week later, I received a message from an unknown number asking if we could talk. I almost ignored it, but something told me not to. We agreed to meet at a small cafe near the office. When I walked in, she was already there, his wife. She stood as soon as she saw me, nervous, hands clasped, eyes searching my face like she needed to confirm something before speaking. I braced myself for awkwardness, maybe even blame. Instead, she thanked me again. Then she told me what that night really meant. She said that when I dropped him off, it wasn't just her husband I brought home. It was honesty. That he had finally admitted he was drowning. That the next morning, sober and ashamed, he had apologized in a way she hadn't heard in years, not defensive, not rushed, but real. She told me about the months of distance, the quiet dinners, the fear that one day he would simply disappear into work or drink and never come back emotionally. She said my simple kindness cracked something open that had been sealed shut for too long. Then she slid an envelope across the table. Inside was a letter. Not long, not dramatic. Just words written carefully, like each one mattered. She thanked me not for driving him home, but for seeing him when no one else did. For choosing patience over convenience. For reminding her that strangers can be gentle, and that gentleness can be the beginning of change. I felt something shift inside me as I read it. A warmth I didn't know I needed. But she wasn't done. She told me that night inspired her too, that instead of letting resentment win, she chose to fight for connection. They started counseling. He cut back on drinking. He began talking again. She said she didn't know where their marriage would end up, but for the first time in a long while, it was moving instead of standing still. And then she said something I'll never forget. You didn't save us. You just reminded us we were worth saving. We sat there for a long time after that, sipping coffee that went cold, sharing quiet smiles. When we parted, she hugged me, brief, sincere, grounding. I walked back to work feeling lighter, like I had unknowingly carried something heavy and finally set it down. Life went on. Meetings, deadlines, ordinary days. But something had changed in me too. I noticed people more. I listened longer. I learned that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stay when it would be easier to leave. That gratitude doesn't always look like gifts or grand gestures, sometimes it arrives as a story, a letter, a truth shared over coffee. Now, whenever I hear that hollow thud in my memory, I don't feel regret. I feel reminded. Reminded that small kindnesses echo far beyond the moment. That you never really know how close someone is to the edge. And that on some quiet night, without realizing it, you might become part of a story someone else will carry forever, not because you were extraordinary, but because you chose to care.